In this video we're going to be looking over this Canon A-1 35mm film SLR camera, and this one is quite well used. We can see here wear through to the brass on a number of spots, but a very good camera. And what I thought I'd do is just put it through all the paces that we'd want to see here to prove that it's working. So we take off this little action grip, we open the battery compartment, and these battery doors are often broken on this camera and the similar models, but this one is good. The spring is good, the latch is good. So as we open this up, I'm going to put in a battery for testing purposes. This battery does not come with the camera, but we'll put that in. We'll slide the little action grip back on, tighten the little screw down, and if you really want to, you can stick a penny in the coin slot just to help with that. Tighten it a little bit. So now we've got a battery in the camera, and let's load some scrap film. I have a roll right here. I'm going to pull up on the rewind crank to release the back door, and we're going to load this in like that. Put the crank back, bring this across, and thread the film into one of these little slots in the take-up spool. Okay, I've got it in there. Sorry, I got that a little bit out of view while I was doing that. And here we have it going. We see it winding across there. Let's make sure it's meshing with the sprocket holes. Back closes. Okay. We see the spool is turning. So all we have to do is turn this up to position number 1, and supposedly then it's wound all the film that was exposed during the loading process, and it's all set to go. What I thought I'd do first of all here is just try a few things. We can do the let's do the 10-second timer here, and here we can see the red light blinking on the top of the camera here. So we'll just let it finish its cycle. And there, we heard that. That was good. And we'll just, oh, there it is, going again. I'm going to shut that off. Let's stop that. And let's do the 2-second timer. Okay. Okay, and we proved that worked. And if it's on the L position, that's the lock position, then it will not work. If we put it on the A position, that's the normal position. And so just for purposes of testing this out now, we can just run the rest of these. This camera does have this little shutter blind in the back here that opens and closes, and that's kind of a nice feature for if you have your camera on a tripod. You compose your shot with your eye looking through here, but then you step away from the viewfinder to take the picture. You want to close that so that the light doesn't interfere with the metering process. Some people just block it off or slide on some little thing, but this camera actually has a blind just for that purpose. Anyway, let's fire off the rest of these. Okay, it's already to the end of this short little roll. So then we press the rewind button on the bottom, flip the crank back up, and wind the film back into the canister. And there, I already felt it break free and it's in. So now we could process this, or in this case it's nothing, so we're just going to throw it away. But while we have the camera open here, let's look at the back. Shutter curtains are nice and clean. We already verified that film transport's working. We can see that here. Door edges are quite clean. I don't feel a lot of light seal material on there. Here a little bit, that's a little bit sticky. Ideally, a camera this old should have those light seals replaced, but this one's in pretty good shape. Now what we do is I've got it set here on time value or shutter priority, so we've been watching the 1,000th of a second here, and then let's flip to 1/500th, 1/250th, 1/125th, 1/60th, 1/30th, and then down to 1/15th, 1/8th. And while we're doing this, I'm going to set the aperture down to f/22 so we can watch the blades close in the lens too. So there's that 1/8th again. We saw the blades close. 1/4, 1/2, 1 full second, 2 full seconds, and this one even goes up quite a bit beyond here. It's 4 seconds. And I think before we go any further, I'm going to just unmount the lens here as we go up here to 8 seconds. That's a long time for this to be up. We can see the mirrors up, we're seeing through to the pressure plate. This one has 15 second. Very long time. And it's about time. Okay. And how about 30 seconds? Not very many cameras will have a 30-second time limit. While we're waiting for that, let's also just notice here this little slide-up piece here is in good condition. That prevents accidental moving of this dial. Over here we have the stop-down preview button. I did verify that works. A little cover over the PC flash sync socket. But pretty soon now this will complete its cycle. Okay, and there it did. Then we switch to the bulb setting. As long as I hold the button down or we have it held down with the cable release, it will stay open and then closes when we let up. So the shutter seems to be working well. Let's look at this lens before we mount it back on. Nice smooth focus. That's pretty nice. This one does have the locking aperture setting. So that's used with some of the programming settings here. Nice clicks on the aperture ring. I did look through this lens and there is some dust and internal contamination. I didn't see any heavy fungus, but some dust and possible light haze. Mounts properly. The button does pop back out and locks it in place, so that's good. Looking on the bottom here, we can see some scratches. This little cover is in place for over the auto winder area if you ever want to add an auto winder. And I actually see a little piece of white debris down in the lens right there. I don't have a lens cap for it, but it comes with this screw-in filter, and that shows that the threads are good. And look on the top here, we can set this to shutter priority as well, or aperture priority, and then if we set different apertures here, like if we set this at let's pick f8 and we have this on the automatic setting, we should be able to watch these blades close down partway, and we saw that. So that's working. If we open this up to f4, we'll see they don't close down nearly as far. So that's working. This does have this little switch over here, and I know sometimes this gets stuck. In this case it is free, and when it's in this position you can actually see an LED along the bottom of the viewfinder, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to get that to show here, but I did verify that that does work. So, all in all, a reasonably good example of the Canon A-1 35mm film SLR camera.